Hello, I am Kelly, and this is Isolation Protocol Day, I just looked it up, Day 213. Book news today. I'm going to do a real quick um, uh, show of some knitted projects and crocheted projects, and then I'm going to be doing book stuff. So, I almost dropped my cell phone, sorry. Okay, first of all, yep, I made the Bag a Day witch hat. I made a small brim. I like to wear hats that go with what I am writing, especially for NaNoWriMo. I wear hats when I write. And since I'm going to be writing a story about a witch, I thought a nice witch hat would do. I made it out of wool. It is a number 5 weight chunky wool from Ice Yarns. It is 2 strands of roving. One is white, one is black, that are lightly twisted together. Let's see if I can get a close up of the fabric here. So they don't look like they're twisted together at all as you crochet it, but they are slightly twisted together beforehand. I would show you, I thought I had a scrap of the yarn left. I only have just a couple of inches of yarn left, but you can see it is just barely twisted, 2 strands of black and of white. This is all I have left, so I am glad that I only really wanted a little tiny brim. And I will be probably writing Wicked Witch. I've tried Wicked Witch several times, and I keep changing my mind, but I think that will be what I will write for NaNoWriMo. The other project is, I've got my crochet hook stuck in it, a baby blanket for a niece who is expecting February 13th. I didn't know if it was going to be a girl or a boy, so I got a peach and teal and light blue color. It is so incredibly soft. And let's see. Again, it is no cut ends yet. 2 strands of different colors that are twisted together. One strand is turquoise and light blue, and the other strand is turquoise, light blue, and pink. So, not pink, peach. It's kind of a pinky peach. Um, I wasn't sure if it was a boy or a girl, so I started making a pink and purple blanket. Found out it's going to be a boy, so I set that one aside and started working on this one here. Where was the other project? Here we go. Here we go. Sorry, I've got a stiff neck. Dogs kept climbing on me last night because there was a lot of noise in the neighborhood. So I am working on finishing a lot of UFOs that I have, and one of them is, yep, a virus shawl. It is made with Cotton King's Twirl Deluxe, I think. The yarn, I've had the yarn for so long and I lost the ball band. But you can see, oh God, I hope the color's coming through. Colors don't come through very well. It goes from slate blue to red to white to green and eventually to black. Yep, all that's left is the black. The dogs got into the yarn, so I had to untangle it all and re-ball up. Oh, sorry, I've got a hair. I hate it when I get a hair in my mouth. I got the fan going, and it keeps blowing fibers in my face. I was spinning earlier today, and there are little wool fibers everywhere. Okay, and that's it for knitting for right now, just finishing off UFOs. So, book news. Girl Unseen is done. It is almost finished being edited. Yay, I'm so excited. I have a cover. It is gorgeous. Oh my God, it is so gorgeous. I really wasn't sure at all what I wanted, and so I sent a note over to Lee Ching of Undercover Designs and said, I need a cover. I don't know what I want. Here's the synopsis of the story. And she sent me back a list of questions. I answered all the questions, sent it back to her, and she got a lot of response to a sale that she was offering. So it was about 3 weeks before she got back to me, and the cover was okay. I had told her that it's a young teenage girl, and the picture that she gave me, the girl looked like she was about 20. I said, can you get a girl that's a little bit younger looking? And I swear within minutes she'd sent me back a cover with a much younger girl. She and a note saying that she wasn't sure which girl I would like better. So yeah, so she did both and sent one over and then the other. And it's like 99.9% perfect. I wish the girl had a little bit longer hair, but her face, her eyes, everything is just so perfect. Oh, I love it. So I will be doing a cover reveal on Facebook. Um, Down below, I should have, if I can remember, I'm forgetting everything lately. I should put the link to my Facebook author page so you can watch for the cover reveal, and it will be released Friday the 13th of November. Yeah, it's not a horror story. It gets a little dark at times, but it's not gory. I don't like lots of gore and slashy stuff. Um, but yeah, some pretty intense stuff happens in the book, but mostly the you don't see the intense stuff. You just see her dealing with the aftermath. So it's considered pretty clean. So anyhow, to celebrate that, I will be doing a special on GASP. Um, GASP is perfect for Halloween. So if you get it through Smashwords, I will be posting it a coupon for Smashwords so you can get it for half price on Smashwords uh, between now and the release date of Girl Unseen. I've got so many book titles going through my head, I am losing it. So I'm going to read a story from GASP. These are short. Most of them are, I'd say about half of them are less than 1,000 words. Very short stories. That's like 3 or 4 pages. Some of them are a little bit longer. Uh, they are somewhat creepy, not too bad, not really, really bad. And they have unexpected endings. So this story is called B. B. Just B. That's what they called her, or at least they thought of it as a her. A crash from the end of the short hallway brought everyone up short, but no one went to investigate. The proprietor bit her lip, but continued to register the guests that had just arrived. Breakfast is served, starting at 5. She noted the fishing gear the men were carrying. And we could also provide a lunch basket at that time if you plan on being out fishing all day. Is everything all right? One of the gentlemen asked, looking down the hallway. Yes, I'm sure it is. Probably just a clumsy maid. Here are your keys. Let me show you to your room. She grabbed one of the bags and headed up the main staircase, the incident quickly forgotten. Situated on the narrow rocky strip of land between Stony Creek and Lucky Strike Creek. Oh, sorry. Accidentally turned on my cell phone. Um, Situated on the narrow rocky strip of land between Stony Creek and Lucky Strike Creek, the Golden Bear Lodge was popular with fishermen and honeymooners. Well, maybe not popular. The executives from some financial firm were here on what they called a retreat. 7 of them were the only guests in a hotel that could easily accommodate up to 200 guests, if you included the string of cabins that lined the river. Susan returned a few minutes later to find Kathleen going over the books. We're not going to make it through another winter. What happened to that quilting group? They're not on the books yet. Kathleen shook her head, her short blonde hair swishing over her ears. Not unless they can use the Blue Room. They need both venues. They're also looking at the Butterfly Inn. We're going to lose them if we don't do something. Susan pulled her hair into a ponytail with a scrunchie that she always wore at her wrist, a sign that she was getting ready to stand her ground. But this time Kat was not going to give in. We talked about that already. Susan yanked her ponytail tighter. I don't want this place famous for a stupid ghost. We'll get wackos from all over. That would be better than empty rooms. We'll be the laughing stock of town. I've already called them. How could you? And so, 11 days later, the producer and preliminary crew showed up. It starts around sunset, Kathleen said as she gave them a tour. We remodeled the room, made it bigger by eliminating the cloakroom and incorporating the staff dining room. We raised the stage another step to add electrical outlets. This part of the structure was originally built in 1859, although it has been added to and remodeled through the years. I'm not sure how much of the original building there actually is. Jim, the producer of American Haunts, stepped up on the raised platform that extended nearly the length of the north wall. He was more interested in possible camera angles than the ghost. Do you always leave the chairs and tables shoved over into that corner? Kathleen looked around as if noticing for the first time. No matter what we do with them, they end up getting moved around. So we've given up. Jim nodded towards his assistant. Set it up as if for a banquet. The young intern wrote on his clipboard. Jim said a bunch of what sounded like gibberish to Kathleen, but seemed to make sense to the camera crew. Finally satisfied, he turned to Kathleen. All righty, Katie, this will do. October 9 to 11. Overnight, starting on the 9th, we'll do a wrap-up film on the 11th, giving you guys the findings. You've gone over the contract? This was a much bigger operation than it seemed on TV, thought Kathleen. She held out the contract that she had signed, and Susan had very reluctantly signed as well. The next 2 weeks were a whirlwind of activity as the crew grew to 9 people, combing through every inch of the lodge. They dug through dusty trunks in the attic. They dug through records in the town hall. They interviewed anyone in town who knew any of the stories about the lodge. So much for being discreet, Susan complained, but she winced as another crash came from the blue room. At last, the 9th arrived, and the stars of the show showed up. Kathleen and Susan were given scripts. Make it sound natural, unrehearsed. Paraphrase a little if you want. The producers set them up in various rooms, and they filmed intro segments. Finally, they made it into the blue room. It was nearing sunset. Kathleen looked around. She hardly recognized the place. The tables and chairs had been set in neat rows. Tablecloths were laid out on the tables on the stage. Several items discovered in the attic had been polished and set out. Tall candlesticks, a silver tea setting, the likes. It was the floor plan that they had hoped to use if they hosted wedding receptions. Susan looked in the doorway but wouldn't come into the room. Kathleen ended up saying all of the lines on the script. And no matter how many times we arrange the tables, after sundown, things start moving around. Tables, chairs, everything. And almost, she sniffed as the cameraman panned to the last rays of sun disappearing behind the tree. Almost always preceded by the smell of lavender. Sometimes people have seen a figure moving around. I felt something shove me from behind. Susan had something pulling on her hair. The stars of the show were talking, but Kathleen just looked around, not hearing them. The smell of lavender was everywhere. Susan smelled it too. Her eyes were open wide and her hand covered her mouth. In a moment, she was racing down the short hallway back to the lobby. Kathleen was vaguely aware that they had asked her a question. She nodded. Sounds good. Saved by the script. The crew swept in and set up the special cameras and equipment, stringing wires and testing the wireless ones. As the crew moved out of the room, there was a crash. One of the chairs on the platform rolled down the steps. Sal, did you catch that on camera? Not satisfied with the answer, Hank set the chair back up. Get everything set. We go lights off in 3. Back crew. Back crew. Set 6. The UVs, the IRs, then get out. Kathleen stood frozen in place as the crew raced around in a well-practiced flurry and then disappeared. In seconds, the room was empty of all save one cameraman, Kat, and the 2 stars of the haunted house's show. The hotel was empty at the time. It was too cold for fishing and hunting season hadn't started yet, although school had. In the eerie silence, the camera was rolling, and the hosts began to whisper, telling the story of the ghost that haunted this old hotel. When it was first built, the Golden Bear was a boarding house for gold miners, a place they could get a bath, a shave, and a hot meal after being out on their claims for a few weeks. Later, after a fire ravaged much of the downtown area, it became a temporary church and shelter for survivors of the fire. From what we learned, this room was a meeting hall for the town council, a place to play bingo when the church was raising funds to rebuild their chapel, and even an orphanage in the late 1800s. The cameraman turned to Kate to face Kat on the other as the other star of the show began whispering. Katie, the owner, says the paranormal activity is limited to this room. We've already seen some activity tonight. As the cameraman panned around the room, a very feminine voice called out quite clearly, "Bee!" "Did you hear that?" whispered one host. "I hope the cameras picked that up." "Bee!" The owners have been calling the ghost Bee because, "Shh! Lovin'," the ghostly voice called again. "Did you get that? They believe she's searching for a lost love. Lovin'." A screech had the cameraman spinning toward the back of the room. One of the tables was sliding on the well-worn wooden floor. The artfully placed tablecloth slid to the floor as the table was jerked out from under it by an unseen hand. Chairs scattered as the table continued until it hit another table. "Oh my God, did you see that?" the female investigator hissed. "Is it on camera? Is it on camera?" the male whispered. "That was amazing. I've never seen anything like it." The unnatural voice called out again, "Bee!" A chair slid off the raised dais, followed by two more. "Bee!" "Has anyone ever been hurt by the apparition?" "Susan, the other owner," whispered Katie. "She was arranging tables for a wedding in here one night when a chair flew into her. She was pretty bruised up." As if to demonstrate, a chair slid off the platform with enough force to move the table that it hit before it clattered to the floor. "Bee!" "It sounds like it's saying the letter B," whispered one of the stars. Aloud he called out, "B? Does your name start with the letter B?" There was silence. A woman checked some of the machines. After what seemed to Kat like hours, but was probably only 30 minutes, the investigators decided there would be no more activity in the room. They took the cameraman through the rest of the hotel. There had been minor activity in the other rooms, but nothing happened while they toured the entire building. They returned to the blue room about an hour before dawn. All the tablecloths were scattered about the room. The tables were mashed together near the center of the room. Chairs were toppled. "It looks like someone has been busy in here," whispered the host. "Bee!" "And it's still here," he continued. "Searching. Searching for what?" "Lovin'," the eerie voice called. "Didn't you say this room was used by the church for several years?" asked the female host. Kate nodded, but realized they couldn't see her in the dark. She whispered, "Yeah, for several years. In fact, one of the lodgers, a worker at the lumber mill, came in here one evening. He was completely drunk. He said the noise from the bingo game was keeping him awake. He shot the place up and then passed out." "I have an idea," whispered the woman. She got up on the dais where there was only one table and one chair remaining. Sitting on the chair, she looked around nervously in the slight pre-dawn glow. Then clearly and slowly she called out, "B11." There was a moment of silence, and a ghostly voice rang out, "Bingo!" All right, so that was B from GASP. I hope you enjoyed it. If you want to see more or read more stories like that, take a look at GASP, and the links will be down below in the comments. All right, catch you later. Bye.